Hi, my name is Leslie and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the classics I hope to read by the end of this year. Last year, I think I read maybe 10 classics. I may have gotten to 12 if we count Anne of Green Gables. I was on a pretty good roll of reading one per month. This year, I have not been doing that. So I would like to revisit that a little bit this year. Because I have not been keeping up on my one classic a month ritual, I hope to be able to make up for some lost time with a couple of the books on my list that I would love to read. The first book on my list is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I started reading this with Summer over at Summer's Moving Bookshelf in the beginning of the year, maybe in January. And for some reason or another, we both kind of gave up on it. I think I was having some tech issues because I was listening to the audiobook and it downloaded funny, or I needed to refresh an app or something like that. And I just kind of lost my place. I was really enjoying it and I want to get back to it. I just probably need to start over. I might be able to get in maybe an hour or two and start from there since I am familiar with the story. I hope to just be able to finish that before the end of the year. And because the story is really action-packed for the most part, I think that I will be able to get right into it and finish it fairly quickly for being a very long book. The next book I would like to get to before the end of this year is Persuasion by Jane Austen. Jane and I have an interesting relationship. I have read both Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility, and I don't love either of those stories. I'm not sure if it's Jane Austen's writing or if it's just those particular stories. So I'm vowing to give Jane one more chance. For me, if I don't enjoy Persuasion, which tends to be in people's top tier choices of Jane Austen books, I may just have to look at Jane as more of an acquaintance and less of a kindred spirit. The next book on this list is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. This is another French author, French story. I had a friend in high school who loved this book and she always asked me to read it, and I never have, and I've been out of high school for quite some time. Also recently, Jasmine over at Jasmine's Reads really was extolling the virtues of this particular book, and I really want to read it. I love Les Mis, the stage play musical. I have seen it multiple times. I've listened to the music countless times. I really would love to say I have read this and really take a deep dive into the source material. The next book on my list is My Antonia or My Antonia by Willa Cather. I have heard about this book for years, since I was a small child. There's a game called Authors. I may have actually talked about this on one of my very, very early videos. That it's like a card game, but sort of like Go Fish to some extent, and you have to collect the author's works. And I just remember Willa Cather and My Antonia, also O Pioneers. And so they've just always stuck in my head as books I would like to read. This book is pretty much about westward expansion and the hardships of growing up in the prairie. A little bit different than Little House because it's not from a child's point of view. I am very interested in reading this just to make it full circle from an author I heard about when I was probably 6 and still think about today. The next item on this list is actually a play. It's The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. I read The Picture of Dorian Gray probably 10 years ago, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. And I have not read any Wilde work since. So I know this is maybe his most famous, or at least his most well-received work. And truthfully, I cannot remember the last time I read a play. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. I know it's not very long, and I do believe it deals with class and high society and things of that nature. So I am looking forward to that one for sure. The next book on my list is actually part of a series, I guess, and that is any of the Sherlock Holmes books by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I really got into mysteries at the beginning of this year. I was listening to just mystery after mystery after mystery. And it's funny that I have never read sort of the quintessential mystery series, which is that of Sherlock Holmes. Assume I will start at A Study in Scarlet, which is where Sherlock Holmes is introduced. But I've heard Hound of the Baskervilles is his most famous story, or maybe the best of the Sherlock Holmes books. I'm kind of deciding which one I want to read first. I probably should start with the introductory book just because, and if I love it, then I have only up to go from there. And last book on this list is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. This book, I feel like the majority of people who've read it say it's amazing, and if it's not their favorite book, it is in probably their top 10 favorite books. I don't know a ton about it other than it's set in Civil War on a plantation called Tara, I believe. I feel like I am in the mood to revisit some Civil War history and books that take place in the Civil War and try to remember how much I enjoyed studying that part of history at one time. Krista over at Books and Jams is talking about reading this for her book club on Goodreads for the month of June. I know it's very long, so we will see if that actually pans out. I honestly have not seen the final word if it is or is not going to be the book for June, but if it is, I will definitely be reading it. If not, then we'll see if I fit it in at some point this year. So that is my list. I think this list is a little all over the place, but that's okay because they're all books I want to read eventually. If you've read any of these, let me know which one I should start with. If you've read one and said it's not worth my time, also leave that in the comments. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.